Hi, 6th grade. Today's math lesson is 11-2, equivalent ratios, and we're on page 378. So equivalent ratios, as you will see, is very similar to equivalent fractions. If you don't remember working on those, you can go back to page 184 for a little review, but the method is pretty much the same. So if you've got a ratio, then you're comparing two things. In the example at the top of page 378, they're comparing circles to squares. So as you can see, the ratio of circles to squares is 5 to 15. And we learned lots of different ways to say that yesterday, with the colon, with the word to, or as a fraction. So we write it as a fraction like they did there. You'll probably notice that you can simplify that fraction. Of course, you would divide both the numerator and the denominator by 5 in this case, and that would give you the fraction 1/3. Okay, so then 1 to 3 is your new ratio, and it means the same thing. You can see that too with the picture at the top. If you look just in an individual column, there is one circle then for every 3 squares, so you can see how that ratio means the same thing. So a couple things that you're going to do today. One is to make equivalents for a ratio. So they give you an example at the bottom of the page, write 3 equivalence ratios for 1 to 8. So we're going to write it as a fraction because that is a pretty easy way to work with it. So to write an equivalent, or make an equivalent I should say, remember you just want to multiply or divide by a fraction whose numerator and denominator are the same. So we could take 1/8 and multiply by 2/2 and get the new fraction or ratio 2/16. We could take that same fraction 2 more times since they want a total of 3 equivalents. We could multiply by 3/3 and get 3/24. We could multiply by, again, anything you want that isn't 1/1 or 0/0 as long as the numerator and denominator are the same. We could go for 10/10 to make it a quick, easy multiplying and get 10/80. So making equivalents is one part of the task for today. The other one, of course, again, is simplifying the ratio so that it looks like a simplified fraction. So turn to page 379 and we'll do a couple of problems together. You're going to be working on the odds today. So let's work on some evens together for some of these problems. Let's start with number 2. Number 2, they want you to write 3 equivalent ratios for each. So the number given for number 2 is 3/4. So we're going to write that 3 times because they want 3 new equivalent ratios. So again, just like making equivalent fractions, we can multiply by any fraction whose numerator and denominator are the same, but not 0/0, not 1/1. So we'll do 2/2, 3/3, and 4/4, just to keep it pretty simple. So we end up here with 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 2 is 8, here 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 3 is 12, and here 3 times 4 is 12, and 4 times 4 is 16. So you've made your equivalents. Let's do another one, number 4. The fraction is 4/9. Again, I'm going to write that 3 times, so I've got room for my work. Hopefully you can see all the way to the bottom of the board. Again, I'm going to multiply by 2/2, 3/3, and 4/4. So we get 8/18, multiplying 12/27, and 16/36. Okay, moving on to the next section. Let me erase real quick here. If I've erased it too fast for you, you can always go back and rewind the video and watch it again. Okay, on to question 6. Since you and I are looking at the evens, it says write the letter of the ratio that is equivalent to the given ratio. So they're giving us for number 6, 7 to 10, which can be written as a fraction, 7/10. So they want to know, do their choices A, B, C, or D mean the same as 7/10? So 30 to 21 would not make sense because we would have to have an improper fraction for that. 14/20ths, could we go from 7/10 to 14/20ths? Let's find out. That does work because we're multiplying by 2 here and by 2 here, so that is an equivalent fraction. So our answer there is B. Look at number 8. Number 8 gives us two fractions, or two ratios in this case, and they want to know if they're equal or not equal. So 6/8 they give us, and 18/24. They want to know if those are equal or not equal. So we figure that out by looking at how you get from 8 to 24 and how you get from 6 to 18. With both of them, you're multiplying by 3. So you could have made that equivalent ratio by multiplying by 3/3 to get 18/24. So they are, in fact, equal. Number 10, 15/1 compared to 30/15. So let's take a look at this. To get from 15 to 30, you're going to multiply by 2. Do you multiply by 2 to get from 1 to 15? You don't. And so that means that these are not equal, and we write that in this way. The line through the equal sign showing not equal. Sort of reminds me of when you've got the circle with the line through it, and that means not. Okay, so that is number 10. Let's jump to number 12 so you can see how to do that kind of problem. Number 12 says find the value of each variable. So number 12, the problem is 2/8 equals 1/n. And so we're going to solve for n. I'm not even going to put in n because I'll put in the final answer. So to go from 2 to 1, we would divide by 2. That means we're going to have to divide down here. Sorry for my sloppy 8. It's sort of hard to read, isn't it? So divide by 2 here because we divided by 2 up here, and we get 4. So there's our answer. You could also state it as n equals 4 because n was in here, and so you solved for n, which is 4. Number 14 says 5/6 or 5/6 equals r/12. So we want to find out what r is, or you could just leave it blank and fill it in. So this part we know already. To get from 6 to 12, you're going to multiply by 2. So you've got to multiply by 2 up here, and that would give you r equals 10.